Landing into a developer job is more than acing the technical questions. There are so many other signals that the interviewer is looking for, and I am not only talking about the human resources interview, the behavioral interview. I'm talking about every single interview that you are part of. I have been the interviewer for hundreds of times, so in this video I will share with you 8 simple tips that will help you to land in your next job. Before we start with the tips, let's talk about one of the most important things. What is the goal of the interview? The interviewer is mainly looking for 2 things. One, are you capable of doing the thing that they are looking for? Do you have the level of experience that they want? But even if you say yes to that, if you check that, if you are that person, there's another thing that they are looking for. They are looking for the answer to the question, is this person good to be part of this team? So they want to understand what motivates you, how do you communicate, if you will cooperate with the rest of the team. They are looking for dimensions like those ones. And how can you be ready to show that you can be part of that team is with these simple tips. So let's start with tip number 1, punctuality. No one likes to wait. And when you don't show up on time, it doesn't show respect for the interviewer, but also is a signal that might happen during the day-to-day. So you might not show up to the dailies, you might not be responsible to deliver things on time when you commit to that. You might be the one that the team is always waiting for to start a meeting. So the tip is, make sure that you show up earlier. If it's a remote interview, an online interview, make sure that you show up at least 5 minutes early. If it's in person, show up 10 minutes early. Tip number 2, let them speak. There's one thing that is proven, is that some people love to speak. So when they are talking, make sure that you don't talk over them, you don't interrupt them. Let them speak as long as they want. By doing so, you will create the perception that you are a good listener. Otherwise, if you keep interrupting them to reply, to say something, they might get the feeling that during a collaboration, a team meeting, you might go over the opinions of the rest of the team is unhealthy. Number 3, avoid negativity related to the past. When you say negative things about your past experiences, about people that you used to work with, doesn't seem like a professional attitude. Often it will come across as something like trying to find excuses for something happening to you. So if you had a previous experience that didn't went well, it was not a good team to work on, you didn't like the company, something went wrong, don't use a language that looks like you are trying to find an excuse for that experience not working well. You can always say things in a positive way. For example, you might have left the job because you didn't like your manager for some reason. And that led to seeing in your CV that you only stayed on that company for 6 months, something like that. You can always reframe that as, I joined that company, I was extremely excited, I'm happy that I have went there because it made me realize that that type of position was not the one that I was looking for. I had the feeling that the team needed someone different than me. The challenges that we were facing were not challenging to me. I had already moved on that phase. I'm looking for a different type of thing. So since I quickly realized that, I decided to go to a different opportunity. It's completely different than coming and saying, I left that company after 6 months because I didn't like the team, the manager was not a good manager, we were working on the wrong things. It's 2 completely different approaches. Because in the positive one, it creates also the vision that you know what you are going for, and that you are honest, that you are clear in your communication. And also it gives the confidence to the person that is interviewing you that if something goes wrong, if they hire you, eventually you will not go to other interviews talking bad things about that company. Tip number 4, say, I don't know. Don't be afraid to say things like, I don't know, I don't have experience with, I'm not familiar with. I know that we have the natural tendency that if we have a technical question, we try to answer the best way that we can because looks like that they are looking for that, and if we can't match that, we lose our opportunity. But it's better to say, I don't know, because that reveals that in the context of your job, you will be honest. You will not be afraid to say, I don't know. It's not a question of ego, but there's something even better than saying, I don't know. Let's imagine the following scenario. Imagine that the interviewer asks you something like, how would you address this type of problem when we have this number of requests and whatever? We have a performance issue, something like that. You might answer, I don't know, because in fact, you never went through something like that. You are not familiar with the problem, but you can say, I don't know, but I would love to share with you how I would approach that problem. This simple answer is something that will lead you to explain them that you are not afraid to say, I don't know, but also you are eager to learn and you are not afraid of taking challenges. And if they are curious, if they say, yes, please share with me what you would do. Now you go and you say, I would research that problem, which type of prototypes you will try to build. How would you try to find someone that already solved that problem and pick their brain on the types of challenges that you need to face? So it's completely different than simply saying, no, I don't know. That it's already better than trying to fake that you know. Tip number 5, adjust your speech. We need to be aware of the person that we are talking with during the interview. During a recruitment process, we will be talking with different people, and those interviewers will have different profiles. They will be either technical or not. They might be more junior to more senior. It doesn't matter. What is important is that we are aware of who they are, so we can adjust our communication depending on the person that is on the other side. But we need to do this without being condescending. So if you are talking with someone that is not technical about a technical thing, they might ask you questions that are kind of technical. You need to be able to explain them the technical problem, but in simple terms that they can understand. This will reveal communication skills because you were able to adapt the way that you explain a complex issue to the listener. But don't use expressions like, I know that this is too technical, or you try to put them in a place that they will obviously not understand it, or you use phrasing that make them feel uncomfortable because it looks like you are saying they are not capable of understanding that, when in fact it's our own responsibility to try to adjust the discourse. But for that, when you get into the room, understand who's in the other side. Tip number 6, tell a story about you. We are all familiar with that first question that usually happens during an interview. That is something like, can you talk a bit about you? So usually the interviewer will have your CV and they are basically trying to cross-check what you are saying with what they have there. And it's one of those questions that we can deliver it because we know what happened with us, but there's good and bad ways of doing it. And this tip is how to make the most out of it. If you want to make the most out of this answer, what you need to do is to tell a story. You need to talk about your experience in terms of a story. And good stories show transformation. That means that instead of saying something like, I worked in a company X, I have done something there, then I moved to the company Z, and there I was a front-end developer, then I moved to my current company, and there I work in a team something, doing something. That is not exciting. And it's completely different to say, I start as a software engineer in a company in the service industry where I was using JavaScript there. And I stayed there for a long time and I learned so much, but I got to a point where I feel that I had something different to learn, and I wanted to start learning different languages because I believe that as a developer we need to have knowledge of different programming languages. So I looked for a job to work with Go, and I was looking for, and I found this company that was quite promising, and it was a startup. So I had the chance to go to a startup, not only to work with Go, but also to learn what is to be that feeling on being on a startup, of building something from the ground up, and that was extremely exciting. And we worked there, we had a lot of challenges, it was quite interesting, but the company didn't work out, and eventually I understood that I needed to go to a different company because we are not growing and I needed different types of challenges. So I looked for a company with scalability problems and I wanted to work on those because I was looking in the long term to assume an architectural role inside of a company. So I moved to that different company. So by saying things like this, that's a sequence that is showing the transformation, is showing that what you were looking for in different moments, that things went wrong in a given company, but you try to make the best out of it. Once again, this simple approach shows communication skills. Tip number 7, a story collection. There are some common questions when we are talking about behavioral interviews that are things like, please tell me a moment when you had to face a challenge in your day-to-day. Please tell me about one moment where you disagreed with your manager. Please tell me about one moment when things went really well and you were super happy with what you have done. There are some standard questions like those ones. And what do you need to be ready for those instead of getting there and start thinking, I don't recall, but I think that in a given moment. What you can do instead is to have a story collection. So create a note in your phone somewhere and add there some interesting moments in your career. Some moments when things went wrong, some moments when things went well. And before getting into an interview, grab that note, quick read it so you remember that. And then when you answer to the question, once again, tell them in the way of a story. And stories show transformation. So you need to say that things went wrong, I learned this by the end. Tip number 8, ask questions. This is one of the most important tips. When you ask a question to the interviewer, it shows interest. It shows that you are eager to work there. It shows that you will participate. It shows that you understand what you are looking for. And there's mainly 3 types of questions that you can ask. And depending on the type of the question that you are asking, it will show to them a different thing from yourself. So by the question, I can show who I am and what I'm looking for. One of them is about showing them that I am a team player. So if I come to the interview and by the end I ask a question like, how's the culture, what's the team size, what's the team dynamics, like meetings that they tend to have and things like that, does the team do knowledge sharing sessions? All those types of questions show that I want to be part of the team and I'm looking for a team where I can be an active member, a team player. And you can also show that you are extremely excited about technology. And you can ask questions like, which type of tech do you use? What's the biggest technical problem that you need to address in the following year? What's the technology stack that we are using? And that will show them that you are looking for challenges, that you are curious about how they do things, what is happening, and that is extremely important, especially if the interviewer is a technical person or it's the team lead, the manager. It's a way to show that you are eager to learn, you want to step in, you want to help them. And also you can have questions to show that you have career goals, that you have ambition. And one of the best ways to do that is by asking a simple question like, if I join the team, what do you expect from me in the following 3 to 6 months? Where do you expect me to be in 6 months? The types of contributions that you are looking for me. By doing this, you are clearly saying, I'm here to give my best and I will make sure that I will achieve what you are looking for. This is a great question for the manager of the team. Before we go, I have a bonus tip for you, and it's quite simple. Please remember that an interview works in both ways. It's an exchange. It's not only about them knowing you and evaluating you, it's also about you evaluating them to understand if they are the company where you want to work. And if you have that attitude to simple things like asking questions, you will see that it will come out naturally. So before you go, please let me know in the comments if you have any other tip to add to the list. And now I think you will want to watch this video right here.